How's it going, everyone? Welcome to the Collective Pursuit podcast. Today we have Eric Ratliff, Nate Brott, and myself, Willie J. And today we are going to go into our stories on how we got started in business.
Okay. Episode.
We have to wait till our faces go down after fucking laughing and shit.
So
go ahead, Will.
Are you bringing us in, Nate? Or am I bringing?
Well, I can, or you can, whatever you think. Don't edit this out, though. I'm having a good time the way it is. A little messy. Garbage cleaners are messy. Which is
we are messy.
Not necessarily our audience.
We clean messes too.
But our vans look like it's never been cleaned. So.
Well, it depends.
I don't know. It depends. Okay, so we want to talk about starting. This might sound potentially industry specific, and we don't mean it to, but it just so happens we're all in the same industry. It's a little bit different. I'm in the industry of customer service, a marketing company that also does carpet cleaning. Ooh. And you guys are rug suckers. Just kidding.
Oh, damn.
But we want to talk about
shots fired.
Eric, do you have a shots fired noise? I'd love that right now if you have one. But that will have to do. We want to talk about how we started, why we started, the mistakes we made, and so forth. And since I'm already talking, I would like to push this to Will. Will, tell me about how you started, why you started, how your goals have or have not changed, and your favorite color.
My favorite color. I'll have to write that down so I don't forget.
You go straight to the easy question, or you got to write it down and think about it?
I got to write it down so I don't forget it. All right.
Good idea.
I started. Of course, you guys know I have a military background, and I joined as a lifer. That's what I was going to do for my life. And then shortly after I joined, I actually tried not separating, but I tried changing career fields to something that would transfer to the civilian side. So air traffic control was a big deal, and I tried doing that. And anyway, to make a long story short, some close friends of ours who we may invite to be on this podcast, they own a very successful coffee shop in the town that, in the town that I live, but in one of my service areas. So Casey's wife is a photographer, and my wife is a photographer, and Casey and Bree invited Liza to shoot a wedding as a second shooter. So Liza and I went up into the mountains of Idaho, and we went up there. We went up to northern Idaho, like right out of Lewiston, I think it was. So we were up right outside of Lewiston, and the girls were off shooting their wedding, and I had my newborn kid, and Casey and I were hanging out with Lucy, my newborn kid at the time. And Casey and I were talking, and he's like, dude, ever since I've known you, you've always talked about business, and you separated from the active duty, you went to the Guard, then you started flying helicopters. Like, what do you actually want to do? And I was like, I don't know, honestly. I know that I want to own a business. My wife and I have always talked about it, and that's something that he hit on because he is a business owner himself. So he's like, hey, dude, I hear carpet cleaning is actually a good business to get into.
Casey told you this?
Casey told me this. Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So Casey, and that goes to say, we talk every single day, the three of us. We talk every single day, almost all day. And again, the only notes I have, as you guys can see here, episode number 2, 24 September is when we're recording, and fave color.
My notes look a little different, but I love it.
We don't have notes. We don't have notes here, except when I try to remember something. So I will get to my favorite color anyway.
Okay.
So Casey was like, hey, how about you look into carpet cleaning? I hear one of the carpet cleaners at Mountain Home is about to retire. And I was like, okay. I'll look into it. So later that evening, we started looking into it. My wife and I, my wife got back from our wives got back from the wedding, and Liza and I were spending some time reflecting on the day. And I brought up owning a business and carpet cleaning, and she is very supportive and was like, well, shoot, we should look into it some more. So, of course, I jumped on some forums. I jumped on some websites. I started looking around, and I decided to take the jump. So I went home. Yes, it was that fast. We were like, let's do it. Why not? I had just got back from a deployment. We had just had our first kid. And I know we mentioned in our last podcast that money isn't everything. My goal in life was to make six figures, and we did 6.25, I guess, if you want. So we made about $126,000 that year. And we were still dissatisfied with our lives and where we were going. It was unsustainable. So my wife and I went home, and I wrote a $15,000 check on a carpet cleaning truck. And like I said, I've never cleaned carpet before. I've never seen somebody clean carpet. Well, I hired one guy, but I'd never.
When you hired the person versus when you did it yourself, what was that time difference? Do you remember it vividly or not at all?
So September of 2015 is when I hired him, and I bought my truck in August of 2018. And
that's a time slot there.
I don't remember what his truck looked like. I'm a competitor now. Cranky Dave, I'm sure he's not going to be listening to this, but
I wasn't going to use it.
You hired Cranky Dave?
I hired Cranky Dave. I did. And he was the guy that was supposed to retire, and he has yet to retire. So we're competitors now, but that's okay. That's some saucy stuff, I'm sure.
I don't even know if I'd call you competitors, but that's a different conversation.
Okay.
I was actually just going to interject there and say the same thing. So I think it's worth exploring. You know, what is his name? What's your buddy's name with the coffee shop?
Cranky Dave?
Eric, that's you. Bree and Casey, they own the coffee shop.
So Casey mentioned, So Casey mentioned that the carpet cleaner was getting ready to retire, and my main actually wrote it down here. I actually wrote it down right here. Oops. That's chicken scratch. Why does it matter? Why does it matter?
Yes, that was my thought. You thought that you were going to crush it because one dude was retiring.
Yes.
The reality is that whatever you were going to bring to the table was going to be 1,000 times better of a product than or an experience, let's say.
Yeah.
Than
You're in a town of 15,000 people, and you still don't affect each other at all.
No, we really don't, and that's a really good thing. It's a really good thing it's a really good thing that we've hit on. It's kind of a small town mentality, like, hey, this guy's retiring from carpentry. Why don't you do it? Kind of a thing, right? That really doesn't matter very much. And that's one of the learning points that I've picked up on since I've been in business, right? So again, to make the long story short, we left our little trip. I did a little bit of research on the industry. And I was like, hell yeah, I can do this. I went and wrote a $15,000 check for a truck that I knew not a damn thing about. I am very mechanically minded. So I knew that a truck mount with 300 hours on it, which is the carpet cleaning machine, is very low. And also my truck was 12 years old at the time that I bought it, and it only had 68 or 69,000 miles on it. So I knew that I was getting myself into something that was pretty lightly used, which I was excited about. And my wife and I, we decided to pick up our lives in Oregon, where we were making six-figure income, and move to the small town of Mountain Home, Idaho. Oregon.
And that's how everyone not from Oregon says, oh, have you been to Oregon?
Yeah.
We're from Oregon.
Potentially.
So
maybe.
So
Europe or what?
Allegedly.
So we decided to have a clean cut from that fancy six-figure lifestyle that didn't buy us a damn thing. We decided that on December 31st, we were going to start our venture, and my parents helped us move over to Mountain Home, Idaho. And we brought over the van. My wife didn't have a job lined up. I didn't have jobs lined up. The business was not legitimate. We had a car payment, 3 dogs. And keep in mind, we have 2 Great Danes and a large mutt that eat 30 pounds of dog food per week. We had rent to pay. We had a car bill. We had the van bill. We didn't have anything, and we literally bet on ourselves. Anyway, so
yes,
at the time it was very stressful. I remember my wife and I sitting on the floor every night with one of these little composition notepads, and I probably still have it somewhere. But we would literally sit down every single night when Lucy went to bed, and we would write down our goals of what we're going to accomplish the next day. And those goals were things like. Those goals were things like we are going to go door to door to businesses, and we're going to learn about Facebook marketing, and we're going to get our website up and going, and we are going to talk to somebody that does branding. Shout out to Andrea. She does branding for all 3 of us. She's really amazing.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll have her on this episode or on one of these episodes as well. I'd love to talk to her more, especially because I've actually never talked to her over the phone, just over email. Anyway, so we had all these.
None of us have talked to her over the phone. Yeah, she's done a dozen projects for each of us.
Yeah, she's truly amazing, and she's super friendly, super amazing. So Liza and I, we moved to this town that we were familiar with. However, we had nothing lined up as far as how we were going to pay our bills, our rent, feed our child. That's a huge deal. Feed our dogs. That's a huge deal too. I would starve and feed my dogs. So, and my child, of course. Can't forget about Lucy. But
also
honestly, we did not know what we were getting ourselves into. I grew up in a very blue collar family where it was just work hard, play hard. No business ownership in the family whatsoever. And so I didn't have the mindset. I didn't possess it. I had to learn it. So what I started doing is I started picking up books and I started picking up podcasts. My book list is not quite as long as Nate's. However, I do have a select few books that I did listen to. And of course, we can share our favorite books later in this episode. But we literally started at the very bottom. And of course, we had no idea what we were doing, so we had a lot to learn. We had to find ourselves. That was a huge deal. We had to find ourselves, and we had to learn how we operate and how we can best act to produce the best outcome. So here we are 2 years later. Of course, the 3 of us talk every day, but we all network with other people as well. Networking is very huge for us. So you can bounce ideas. And as Eric mentioned in the last episode, that we are trying to flatten our learning curve, right?
Flatten the curve. Mr. COVID over here. Just kidding.
Yeah.
In business, though.
In business, we are trying to flatten the curve. So flatten the learning curve, that is.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
All the curves, just flatten them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why ride the long way?
Yeah.
I'll just make this easy.
So over the last basically 25 months that I've been in business, we have had to figure out a lot. And a lot of that has to do with goal setting and writing things down that you need to accomplish and checking things off. Finding yourself and what motivates you. A lot of this is self-motivation until about a year ago when I really started networking with the 2 of these guys, Eric and Nate. And just finding the grit in yourself to just keep pushing when stuff doesn't feel good. I mean, one day we've got to have our wives on here. One day we'll do some kind of episode like that. But Liza's like, dude, you're stressing out so bad. Why are you stressing out? And I'm like, because no jobs are coming in. And then the very next day, my phone rings like 10 times. And she's like,
the whole next week is booked.
Yeah. She's like, I told you to relax. And I was like, yeah, this is going to be a record month. And she's like, dude, just relax. And so that's something that I've really, really, really learned especially during 2020. 2020 has been a rough year. Of course, we don't want to hammer that to death and beat the crap out of that dead horse. Yeah. But honestly, it's been a fun ride and it's been worth it. But you really, really, really cannot dwell on the bad times. You have to focus on the positive things and just know that the work that you're putting in will pay off. And Nate and Eric actually here have had to talk to me a little bit about that more recently because of our boots on the ground stuff. You know, Nate's done a realtor program for what do you call
number of minutes
referral partners, right? And I started it too, and I was like, dude, why the heck aren't jobs coming in? And he's like, give it time, it'll start coming in. And here we are this week. I booked 2 already, and we've only been doing it for a month. So that type of marketing is free. So while you're slow, you need to get out there and bust your hump and just go talk to people. We call it door knocking or boots on the ground.
Shaking hands and kissing babies.
Shaking hands and kissing babies. That's exactly right.
COVID, so that's illegal. Don't do either of those.
Yeah. Don't
touch anybody's baby.
You're going
we got like elbow bumps and like, you know.
Yeah, we got so, parking lot shouts is what we have.
So that's the short of the long of it. Maybe is that how that saying goes? I'm not here to compare my lives to other people, but to us, moving here felt like we were the bottom, and we did take the bet, or we did bet against ourselves. And we're not a huge company, but we're making it work. We're paying our bills. We're putting money into savings. We're probably going to pay off our car this month. There's things that we're trying to do to set ourselves up for success. So don't give up. Keep killing it. Go door knocking. Maybe not during COVID, so go email knocking or phone call knocking instead.
I love email knocking. We'll talk about that in another episode.
Exactly. We got some email marketing stuff coming up. I've been rambling on for like 12 minutes here. So, Eric, take it away, bootlegger.
Wait. But before that, I want to dissect your conversation first.
Yeah.
All right.
Then
take it away.
I want to send it to Eric. So there's several things you mentioned that were huge that I don't want to say you brushed over. They were important, but people that are listening might not understand how important they are, because this episode's all about starting and, kind of finding just jiving through things, figuring out what you want to do, why you want to do it, which means, the first year, for the first several years, or at least months, could be a constant 180 spin. We don't know what's going on. We're like you said, you spent, here's a bunch of money, give me a truck now, you turn that sucker on, you go to the only supplier locally to you, and you're like, how do I do this, right? Or what do I do? How's the process? How do I interact with the customer? How do I sell them? What am I pricing? You're in a constant state of change, and I think if anyone's listening to this episode based on that, there's a couple things that you said that were huge that could be 4-hour sessions that I wanted to just quickly break down.
Maybe we can episode those out one day.
Yeah. Why don't you get your sticky note out while I briefly go over these?
Got it.
Okay, perfect.
Got my pen.
This is exactly. You lefty, you freaky. I'm just kidding. Right-handed, I know.
I'm a right-handed.
I know. He just said it. Okay. Here's what I wrote. I wrote goal times. You talked about when baby went to sleep, you and your wife wrote down goals. And I know we've had this conversation. I spent an obscene amount of money having an extra room on the opposite side of our house, opposite side of the garage, the entire wall whiteboarded. It's like 18 feet or 19 feet by 10 feet tall.
I'm going to do that behind me here.
That's what I'm talking about. Yes. and I can't flip my iMac right now. We have an 8-foot whiteboard wall here, but we have a 19 or an 18-foot by 9 feet whiteboard wall at home. Here's what my wife and I would do. We have very different goals, very specific things we want to do, very intense reasons why we want to do them. My wife is big into acting. She has been rubbing shoulders with people that are just absolute A-list actors. She has done photo doubling. She's done lots of things, and she wants to be that. She has goals that are difficult to get to. I have goals that are difficult to get to. What we do probably every month and a half is we say we need a whiteboard wall, and we make sure that, one, we're not hungry or thirsty. So whether we're ready for food or not, I don't care if we're bringing food in or we got to eat in advance, but we will be in that room for 5 hours. So we're prepared to do it. And that whiteboard wall will be filled and erased 3 times over. And I cannot preface. Laundry's done. You guys hear that?
Sounds like something else.
Well, my pads are done washing in the shop.
Times are tough. He's sublet his shop. He's sublet his shop
That's what's going on. I don't know.
Some adult industry.
No. Wow, this podcast is taking off. Okay. The whole point is the creativeness between the whiteboard wall. It will one, tell you what you want. And one point that I wrote down with this, without going too crazy, because this could be several episodes in one conversation, which will be probably the theme of my side note, is writing down everything that you want. Because I think the three of us know, and correct me if I'm wrong, we think we know what we want and we don't. So there's this rule of elimination where you write down no thinking. Like the rule is everything you want, you write down in no order at all. It can be like someone to wash and dry and fold my laundry, a house cleaner, someone that does my oil changes for me, to make $1 million, to be an A-list actor, to be whatever.
Vision board stuff.
It's a huge vision board.
Yeah.
Here's the deal: is you gotta have at least 50 things. You write them all down without thinking about it, and that's actually very hard to do. Very hard to do. You write 50 things, and then in the next column you write down the order, and then holy crap, you immediately know what you need to do. Exactly, because you see that list, and then you realize, wow, I have all these things I wanted to do, but the most important thing I'm not really working towards, or the quickest thing I'm not working towards, and that's important. And that we'll go through that. And then I wanted to ask Will before we go into Eric's conversation, because Eric has all three of us have very different topics, very different realities of how we started this upbringing and everything. You mentioned that you had the blue collar mentality is that based on a family situation?
Yes. So I was raised on a farm. It's not a farm that probably many of our listeners are familiar with. It wasn't like a big ranch or cattle, or it wasn't anything like that. We just had a bunch of horses. Like we raised pigs every other year, and we had chickens, of course, and it was more like a petting zoo size, but the big thing was the horses. So we grew up on 10 acres, which again, to some people in comparison, that's really small, but it was still a lot of yard to mow. It was still, we had anywhere between, I think I was talking to Eric about this. We had anywhere between like 12 and 15 or 16 horses at any given time. We had to buck hay for all those horses. We had to shovel all of the manure in the mornings before we went to school. When we got home from school, my dad was getting home from work, and it was time to build fences and mow yards and repair things and train horses and all this other stuff, So it was a very work mentality, which I think partially played into what my mentality is today. It's kind of a gritty thing. I would get home from football practice even, after daily doubles, 4 hours of sprints and tackling drills and all that other stuff. We're still coming home and building fences, so that we can just hit it hard the next day. again, long-winded answer. Do you have any other question, or do you have more questions to that? That sounded like a first part of a larger question, Nate.
You were getting really good at reading me. Yes, that was the first part of several questions.
All right.
Let's just take a quick step back and think about not even our industry. Let's just talk about home service.
Okay.
From a customer perspective, from our perspective, from a world
I got
view.
more on this too.
This is going to be so good. I'm super excited. Yeah. Okay, this is a very good one because we've talked about
listeners, this is going to run long, but that's okay. Let's keep it rolling.
It is. Trust me, it is worth its weight in gold. Okay, and not only because this question.
Y'all see me smiling when I see these two guys getting geared up. It's like somebody at the behind the Kmart is squealing his tires, and it's like one of your buddies with his brand new car, and it's like burning rubber, and you know that you're like, it's amazing.
We're burning rubber right now.
I'm kidding. Okay. All right, get after it. So we're talking about the blue collar mentality. To me, in the world of home service, that means owner operator. Do you disagree, or does that sound right so far?
No, that sounds absolutely right. Most people that we associated ourselves with that did home services for us, they were owner operators. We had cabinets built, and it was a family friend, and he worked by himself. Same with the electrician, same with the roofer. All the people that have done work on our house growing up, they were all owner operators. Yes.
Okay, so question 2 of 3 is because of this. Oh, it's getting too saucy. So because of this owner operator mentality. And there's nothing wrong with this. This is just in the perspective of the long-term true business. I have noticed that extremely good business owners that build, create, start, buy, and grow any form of that, and grow businesses, not only have never done the work in the business, but they're not even capable. Because their decision-making process, it's extremely important that they can't fill in a blank somewhere when an employee's down or whatever, because their entire model needs them thinking about marketing, customer perception, and value generation, meaning they cannot be distracted from the owner-operator's mindset. So my question to you is the question we have been talking about, and me personally, and all of us have been making bad decisions based on us, even in my case, casually being out in the field, not all the time, not every day. How many bad decisions do we make based on a blue collar mentality that puts us in the field that ultimately is a bad decision if we weren't in the field?
So first off, I amen to that, honestly, seriously. So one thing that I did when I very first got into this industry is I reached out to Nate, and I want to save that story for another episode of how we met. Actually, how Eric and Nate met is also another amazing story. So stay tuned for another episode of how we all met and how we all started talking. I don't remember
either one, so this will be fun.
Yes, it'll be good. So Eric said that Nate is the glue that holds us together. I think it was the magnet that attracted us all together, really. But because Nate, Eric and I, long story short, Eric and I, we were seeking out somebody with a different mentality, and we ended up running into the same guy. So we'll talk about that again. We'll talk about that again later. But
that'll be Nate's coming out.
Yeah. So we this
were you off there?
This was a huge this was a huge learning point for me, because when I first got into the carpet cleaning industry, I thought that I was the end all be all as far as my business went. Right. So, I thought that I was going to run the business, and I was going to operate the business until, I decided to retire. And ever since I've started networking and reaching out to folks such as Nate and Eric, we have all reached a little bit further than that, right? Because of my blue collar mentality, I was holding myself back. I was holding myself back from what my true potential was. And I don't know what my true potential is because I haven't hit it yet. Right.
Yes.
So,
that's a good answer.
So, what I've realized is that I should not try to be a one truck operation and try to grow it as big as I can, because there's a limit there. And that is objective, right? There is a limit to a certain point. Again, that's a huge topic that we can all banter on, but, in all reality, there's really not a whole lot of potential there as far as freedom, which we talked about in our last episode, to gain freedom, which is one reason why we'd go into business, which I didn't even think about when I started my business. I didn't even think about that crap. I didn't even think about freedom. And now I'm like, yes, let's grow this thing. I want some freedom. I want to go to all my daughter's games. I want to go to all my wife's book signings. She's an author. I want to go to, I want to be a part of my family's like life, and I don't want to be a slave to my business. I want my business to work for me. I don't want to work for my business. So, like I said, this is getting a little long-winded, but hopefully, did I answer your questions, Nate? Was that good?
You did. It was the idea of our decision making based on us not being an indirect owner of the business. Okay, good businesses are run where there is zero involvement. It's based purely on investment, which means based on value creation, right?
The owner of McDonald's ain't flipping burgers. Hell, the franchise owners aren't even flipping burgers, right?
And it would be a disservice to the customer. It's not that they're above that, but they would be doing a disservice to the people if their time was flipping burgers. There are things that they can do to add value to customers that are much better.
Absolutely.
That's something I tell my customers all the time, and maybe not in that phrase exactly, but we should be, I mean, think about it, right? When we talk about our customers, in fact, when I was at today, I said, I'm shocked you haven't met, so-and-so and so-and-so yet. I realized I've cleaned for her every time. She said, yeah, it's crazy. I said, well, you'll meet him eventually. I'm spending a little more time in the office now, and I'll probably not be in the field very often, in the next month or so. And she said, oh, really? That's so great to hear. It's good to see that you're able to do that. I said, yeah, I feel like I'm able to help people better when I'm not doing the cleaning, because I get to be available to them in other ways. And I really get to focus on what's important to the customer when we're not completely, blinded by these horse blinders, running a track, only doing one thing that's actually not that important. It really isn't.
Yep. And importance again is one of those things that, I live in a small town, so most businesses are very blue collar, esque, if you will. A lot of these owners out here, when competition comes to town and it's their time to go, they feel like they should go instead of adjust and learn the new ways, right? So, for instance, I'm the only carpet cleaner that does hands-free in the time of 2020. I'm the only one that does hands-free billing. I'm the only one that does online scheduling. I'm the only one that does. We do a lot of things that a lot of other cleaners are not doing, and that is one way that we have set ourselves different than other cleaners. So, again, I know this is an extremely long-winded deal about myself, because I know that we all have a lot of we all have a lot of value to provide to you. So, Nate, do you have any more questions for me that I might be able to hammer away at?
No, but I know that Eric has had a very different perspective on things that he started on. And I want to...
I got one more thing.
I got one more thing too. You go first.
For me? You got one more thing for me? Do you have one more thing for me?
Yes. You mentioned... you mentioned, this is partly on the blue collar thing. You mentioned how you were used to putting the hard hours in and working hard when maybe the value wasn't there. I'm working on a farm, right? Like, it's not like this 6-figure jobs or whatever. But my perspective on that was, I have seen so many people, heck me, for the last 4 years until the last 2, I'll put in useless time, 80 hours a week, and think that I did a good job.
So
this is a question for both of you. Actually, I want Will and Eric to answer this. We put in an extreme amount of time doing very focused things, and it's been extremely different from people that show up in their office, show up at a customer's house, whatever, and quote unquote work for 8 to 10 hours a day, when in reality, the actual value that they bring for those hours, they're just checking off a box. They're showing up somewhere for 8 hours to say that they could. I want to hear what Will and Eric have to say about that. And it's ironic because half of that may be the fact that we distract each other all day long and also bring value all day long. So it might not be the most clear message ever, but it's important nonetheless.
We had a recent discussion about how much we talk. And since we had that discussion, I've started listening to books again and adding value to my life. And let me tell you, again, another episode, but my wife and I are working on something between the two of us. And it's already proving to be very, very good for our growth together, because we're both entrepreneurs, and life gets pretty tough. So again, another episode on that, but
okay.
One thing that I noticed one thing that I noticed when I was so I was active duty for 6 years, then I went to the Air National Guard, full-time Air National Guard as a technician. For those of you military members listening, I was a full-time technician for 2.5 to 3 years ish before I became a traditional guardsman and decided to take a bet on myself. And one thing that I noticed after spending some time there, and a gentleman told me, I know I'm going to have some of my coworkers listening to this and they might get a kick out of it, but I had a guy, very, very awesome gentleman. I looked up to him. He was my mentor when I first got to the guard unit. And I really, really respect this guy. And I remember getting to the base, and I had this active duty mentality of go, 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 go. Always have something in your hand. Always do something. What blah 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 blah. Right. So, you know how it is. Somebody opens the door. You think it's a supervisor walking through, and they're going to jump down your throat because you don't have a broom in your hand or a dust mop or whatever. And and this guy told me one time, he said, "Hey, dude, I need you to slow down a little bit." And I asked him, "Why do I need to slow down? There should be always something that I can do around here." And he said, "Because you're going to burn yourself out." And unfortunately, burn myself out. I did. It's such a small workplace and you see the same folks every day, and I love them all to death. Otherwise I wouldn't be a part of that unit. Right. But I love them all, and I still want to see them all. And I look forward to going home on my quarterly drills and stuff. But I hit a point where I feel like I couldn't do anything more. Right. I was literally showing up, signing my time card, collecting a paycheck, and leaving. And I felt that I don't want to feel like I couldn't provide anything more, but I feel like I was just going along with just the rule of life of just show up, sign your paycheck, go home, hang out with your kids and your wife, eat dinner, go to sleep, wake up, and do it all over again. And it just kind of hurt. It hurt a little bit, So again, I started looking at air traffic control school. I actually got accepted into that. And right around the time I got accepted into that is when we hung out with Bree and Casey, which you guys already heard that story. So I worked my butt off while I was there. I was promoting. People love my work ethic. I go back and they still put me in positions where I can take care of things. And it's a very, very, very good experience, but I felt like I couldn't focus 100% because like there's only so much you can do. I was starting to burn out a little bit. So unfortunately I had to leave my full-time position and take up a part-time position, which I actually enjoy because I love going back and busting my ass for the few days that I'm there at a time. And then I'd love to get the freedom to start TDYing or going on temporary duty deployments and stuff with them because I do love that community so much. So I'm gonna end my portion of this. I'm very long-winded. We've been talking about this for a long time. This episode is going to be very long, which is okay because we are providing a metric crap ton. This is so much information about us personally and how we've grown, and I'm very excited for you guys to be listening right now. So I'm going to end, and my favorite color is going to be. Can it be 2 colors, Nate and Eric? Can it be 2?
No, because it's a split focus, and that does not achieve your goals. It's one color.
Listen to this guy calling me out. That's why I love him so much.
One color.
Damn. One color. I got to pick one.
You don't know you don't have a favorite. You don't know you need to reevaluate your goals.
Dude, it's so hard. So just because
because your business, is that right?
I got a story about that too. But I did.
Well, tell it.
So I did some research on colors and psychology of colors and how people react to certain colors. And green closely relates to like friendship, being green, right? So clean or whatever. It actually is associated with clean, like cleanliness and other things. So my wife and I decided to go with a green palette, a green and mint teal palette for our business.
Killed it.
So my favorite color, though, because I'm a big car, motorcycle, quad, Jeep nut. My favorite color on my favorite color is white on vehicles. I'm going to say white. I'm going to say white today. I love white. Different shades of white. Pearl white is gorgeous on a muscle car. So anyway,
yeah,
we're a long way into this. I think you guys need to get to more talking here. So Nate, ask Eric questions, or Eric, just start talking. What's up, guys? This is William, and I just wanted to let you know that I appreciate you listening all the way through my story and how I got started in business. Take a listen next week as Nate grills Eric with some more questions on how he got started in business. Take care, and we'll catch you next week.